So we're entering for the first sector, which is tourism. We'll have Elodi Nunes from CPMR, who is online. Right? Hi, Elodi, are you with us? Hello, welcome.
Hello? Can you hear me well?
Very well. The floor is yours.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. So yes, my name is Elodi Nunes. I work for the CPMR Inter-Mediterranean Commission. So we are a network of regional authorities in Europe, and I work for the Mediterranean more specifically. So today I've been asked to basically try to highlight some of the current and future challenges and opportunities for sustainable innovation in tourism in the Mediterranean. So I will address 3 points mainly to answer this axis. The first of which is governance. I think we know that governance is a key critical issue for us to green tourism. And more specifically within governance, it is important to understand that tourism is a transversal sector. So it actually is linked to a whole lot of other sectors, such as energy, such as shipping, such as transport, and so on and so forth, without forgetting, of course, alimentation and the food sector. And this is why each of these sectors also need to be linked in our thoughts when we want to try to green tourism for more sustainability. And this is also the reason why the integrated approach in our policies and in our strategies is key. And I think that the macro-regional strategies and the sea basin strategies have a key role to play in this sense to support this approach. To green tourism, a shift of schemes is also important. We need to shift a bit in our minds the approach we have to the tourism economy. We have several opportunities, such as enhancing the social economy or the circular economy within the tourism sector itself, focusing on quality of offers rather than numbers. And this would allow a smoother competition between tourism actors while having a stronger cooperation. This means better coordination in our actions and, of course, a better impact on the territory for the greening of this industry. This also means a shift towards more importance of domestic tourism. We saw with the COVID-19 that domestic tourism is also very important to sustain the support. And this also allows us to think about how enhancing short distance distribution circuits, whether it be for goods or for the distribution of masses of people, also are important. This brings us to highlighting the different territorial assets of our territories, the Mediterranean culture, the Mediterranean diet, which are all elements that we can promote to avoid the massification of tourism and to enhance the added value of all the territories throughout the Mediterranean. So this shift of schemes can also be accompanied by digitalization, of course. My only point on digitalization is that we need to make sure that it's green from the very beginning, meaning that from the production of the tools we want to use for digitalization, we need to make sure that they also come from green sources. This is key because if we're green on the one hand, it also needs to be green on the beginning on the other hand. Otherwise, it's a null equation and it doesn't work that much. Secondly, I've also been asked to comment on the potential obstacles to be addressed to upscale sustainable innovation across tourism in the Mediterranean area. And I will also quote 3 elements very briefly. So the first element is the mainstreaming of innovation of project results into public and private sectors strategies. This is a key element because we talk about innovation, but we need to make sure that it also lands well on the territories. It's well to innovate, but then if it doesn't land on the territory, the effects are a bit lesser than if they land well. So we need to make sure to understand and think and how to articulate this landing from innovation, from the results we have from the pilot actions to the mainstreaming into policies. And here we have several actors that are working in this sense. We have the Mediterranean Cooperation Alliance, that is a network of territorial networks. We have also European and Mediterranean cooperation programs that are great tools allowing for this. So we should make sure to understand how we can articulate it, how we can articulate the results with the strategies and see, let's say, how maybe future call for projects can be efficient in this way. This brings me to my two last elements. So the building of capacity with administrations. It is also key because when we need to absorb all the knowledge that comes from cooperation, well, we need to have also people in front of us that are able to absorb it and to implement it. And here we are working in hand with the Union for the Mediterranean, notably, on a specific capacity building workshop on sustainable tourism next December. And lastly, it is also key to think about the role citizens can play. They are the big parts of the equation. They're also the tourists. So it's important to see how we can articulate them in our reflections. And that will be all for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elodi. Thank you for the content and the time. It is very much appreciated. And now I call on stage Sami Iklil from the Mohammed VI Foundation. Please come join me on stage. You can get your microphone. And yes, for your presentation, no, it will be here. For all presenters, you will see your presentation appear here, and you can move it from here. So you can stand, sit, what you prefer.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Firstly, I would like to thank all the organizers of the WestMED initiative that offers such a great platform to hear diverse voices of different components of our society involved in the blue economy. I will apologize because I'm gonna switch up to French in order to highlight some components of my presentation. I will be brief, donc je serai bref. L'idée c'est que on présentera, j'étais invité bien sûr à présenter en quelque sorte la perspective en termes d'opportunités et de points bloquants par rapport au secteur du tourisme. Ça sera une perspective du point de vue de la Fondation Mohammed VI pour la protection de l'environnement, présidée par Son Altesse Royale la Princesse Lalla Hasna. Et ça sera une perspective, bien sûr, d'une ONG qui, en aucun cas, ne se substitue, bien sûr, à la vision initiée notamment par le secteur en question. Donc, en gros, le Maroc, bien sûr, dispose d'un potentiel pour l'implication de son implication au niveau de l'économie bleue, notamment à travers ses façades maritimes, d'environ 3500 km étendus sur les façades atlantiques et méditerranéennes. Ces espaces côtiers également constituent 50% de l'espace touristique et plus de 92% du tissu industriel lié aux différents secteurs de l'économie bleue, notamment par rapport à la région méditerranéenne qui constitue une des plus grandes économies de la région avec une valeur globale d'environ 4 500 milliards d'euros et un potentiel très important en termes de ports, de littoraux qui franchissent les 30% du volume des échanges maritimes à l'échelle mondiale, constituant ainsi une niche intéressante. Donc la répartition des régions côtières également, on dispose de 9 régions côtières, plus de 42 préfectures aux provinces littoraux et plus de 51% de la population nationale, dont 70% au niveau des milieux urbains. Pour l'écosystème touristique marocain, donc c'est un écosystème mondialement reconnu. Donc la destination marocaine, bien sûr, elle repose sur un tissu dense, comme les différentes économies, sur des opérateurs structurés expérimentés. On va citer les aéroports, les agences de voyage, les établissements, également la génération d'emplois directs et indirects, qui suit bien sûr l'évolution du secteur suite aux statistiques bien sûr de l'Organisation mondiale du tourisme qui stipule que d'ici 2030 on pourrait atteindre plus de 1,8 milliard d'arrivées de touristes étrangers d'ici 2030 et que cette dynamique-là pourrait engendrer entre 20 et à 100% bien sûr de croissance en fonction de la taille géographique de certains pays. Le secteur également dispose d'une chaîne de valeur imbriquée à plusieurs niveaux en termes d'activité. Donc, ce qui permet bien sûr de dresser, d'évaluer bien sûr la complexité de gouvernance et de ce secteur-là en termes d'activité. Donc, passons du tourisme. Donc, on a pris quelques exemples par rapport aux activités telles les croisières, les plaisances, les loisirs. Je mettrai plus le focus sur le tourisme balnéaire, étant un secteur pourvoyeur d'emplois et de retombées économiques qui emploie à peu près une personne sur 11 dans le monde et dont les formes d'activité sont de plus en plus répandues. Donc, selon quelques estimations, ce marché global de plaisance et de loisirs nautiques devrait atteindre plus de 30 milliards de dollars d'ici 2022 avec un taux de croissance de 3,8%. Bien sûr, on décèle par exemple les activités telles que les croisières, bien sûr, la pêche, les loisirs, la plongée. D'autre part, comme vous savez, le secteur de l'économie bleue ne se restreint pas uniquement au niveau des activités marchandes telles que connues, donc les activités portuaires, le tourisme, etc., mais également la composante des activités non marchandes. C'est à travers cette prisme-là, donc ça regroupe toute la partie recherche, innovation, éducation, bien sûr, qui ont été évoquées par les différents speakers. Et c'est à partir de cette perspective-là qu'agit la Fondation Mohamed VI pour la protection de l'environnement, qui est une fondation qui a pour but l'éducation à la sensibilisation au développement durable via des différents programmes. Je ne vais pas m'étaler compte tenu du temps alloué, je mettrai plus le focus sur la partie, le programme préservation du sauvegarde littorale avec 2 programmes phares, notamment le programme plage propre, et là on schématise de manière très brève le mode de gouvernance de ce programme-là qui regroupe les différents spectres de la société partant des partenaires privés, des secteurs institutionnels, également de la société civile et différents départements où la Fondation essaye de fédérer, gérer et planifier ensemble pour une meilleure répartition de rôles au niveau de ce programme-là. Le deuxième programme, c'est le programme Pavillon Bleu, Blue Flag. Donc c'est un programme d'excellence environnementale des plages marocaines et qui est, j'ai évoqué cet exemple-là, étant donné que c'est un programme qui est en partenariat avec le ministère du Tourisme et l'Office national marocain du tourisme, qui, bien sûr, vise bien sûr, à travailler en synergie avec ces différents secteurs et acteurs afin d'aboutir à une meilleure excellence des espaces balnéaires marocains. Donc, partons du deuxième point relatif aux points bloquants qui peuvent bloquer, bien sûr, les facteurs de fragilité de cette modèle touristique. Donc, comme vous savez, la majorité des modèles touristiques qui ont été initiés préalablement reposent sur les modèles touristiques du tourisme de masse qui consiste à mettre à disposition, bien sûr, bâtir une offre standardisée favorisant l'ensemble et l'assemblage des produits touristiques et leur commercialisation via des tours opérateurs. Donc, cette stratégie décèle certains points de fragilité, des points qui ont été soulevés précédemment par ma collègue, notamment la gouvernance, étant donné la complexité et la chaîne de valeur et la multiplicité des acteurs intervenants, les territoires comme étant des milieux qui sont impactés, notamment que ce soit par les changements climatiques ou par le flux massif de touristes arrivants, et finalement, bien sûr, les technologies, la digitalisation, étant donné qu'on connaît une révolution digitale qui n'a pas été intégrée parfaitement au niveau des processus de planification des stratégies touristiques. Donc, la solution, ce n'est pas une solution, mais c'est plutôt une proposition. C'est par rapport au concept du smart tourisme, du tourisme intelligent et des destinations intelligentes. Donc, c'est un concept, bien sûr, qui repose sur les trois composantes que je viens de partager avec vous, notamment la technologie, qui repose en grande partie sur la génération d'informations et l'identification des besoins du touriste. Du coup, il y a un grand chantier, bien sûr, de transition des technologies 2.0 aux technologies 3.0, où le touriste qui est n'est plus considéré uniquement comme un actif, mais plutôt en utilisant, bien sûr, d'autres formes de technologies telles la big data, l'intelligence artificielle, afin d'identifier plus le besoin de ces touristes. Le deuxième point, plutôt, c'est les territoires. Donc, le territoire, il devient intelligent si on intègre au niveau des planifications, des stratégies sectorielles et territoriales, ils prennent en considération ces facteurs de vulnérabilité qui sont intégrés au niveau qui sont intégrés via leur dimension au niveau des processus et des stratégies de transition écologique, par exemple, et climatique. Et finalement, c'est par rapport à la gouvernance. Donc la gouvernance, bien sûr, étant donné la multiplicité des différents acteurs, il y a lieu d'offrir une gouvernance intelligente. Ça veut dire une plateforme intelligente qui va permettre, bien sûr, de regrouper ces différents acteurs afin, pour une meilleure circulation d'informations au niveau des différentes parties prenantes et par conséquent, une meilleure affectation des ressources touristiques pour une meilleure compétitivité et un meilleur développement du secteur. Finalement, je clôturerai avec cette conclusion que voilà, c'est juste un schéma simplificatif qui va permettre bien sûr de mettre la destination comme bien sûr un construit en amont de la réflexion économique et du développement touristique, mettant ces différentes institutions publiques entièrement dans la destination comme facilitateur et leader et permettant une planification cohérente entre les différents acteurs et parties prenantes concernées. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup pour cette très intéressante présentation sur le Smart Tourism. Et je vais appeler, I will call now on stage Matteo Bocci. Non? Oh, non, excusez-moi, c'est madame Stéphanie Vella. We will now make a bit of a comment. Yes? Yes, as you prefer. You can also sit here if you prefer. Sure. Yes, if it's too...
Thank you very much. Thank you for your intervention. Thank you everybody for joining us today. So a few words from our end in terms of sustainable tourism and what we have been doing as part of the WestMED initiative. As you rightly know, tourism is one of the main leading sectors, economic sectors in Europe. It's one of the leading destinations that there is in the world, and it accounts for over 30% of tourism, which is over 300 million tourists who visit the Mediterranean region on an annual basis. It's also one of the sectors which has been really hard hit by the COVID pandemic, and that has really exposed the vulnerability of the sector. And while it has exposed the vulnerabilities of the sector, it has also presented an opportunity in terms of determining where we should be heading in terms of sustainable tourism, and how we can address the challenges, be they economic, environment, or social challenges, and how we can move towards more of a sustainable tourism sector. And this is where we try to play an important role. Our role has mainly been focused on the development of webinars. So we have developed a series of webinars which focus on sustainable tourism. One of the recent webinars which we organized was on strengthening ties and opportunities with our southern partners. The emphasis of the webinar was that, or continues to be for a number of webinars which we have organized, is that there are definitely common challenges which exist across the Western Mediterranean region, and these common challenges really require joint solutions. And in order for us to develop these joint solutions, we really need to enhance dialogue and collaboration between partners in the Western Mediterranean region. So one of those webinars specifically focused on tying, really strengthening our opportunities with our southern partners. Last week, we also organized another webinar, which we have done in collaboration in the past with WestMED and also with the UFM, whereby the webinar last week focused more intently on the role of innovation in terms of sustainable tourism. So the webinar focused on what are the enabling conditions that are required in order to have innovation in place, the regional governance that is required, and a number of other issues. But more importantly, the scope of the webinar was to really highlight the EMFAF call, which is currently available and published by SINEA, which is very opportune and very specific because it focuses quite intently on the recovery of the coastal and maritime tourism in the Western Mediterranean region. So it definitely provides an opportunity for the development of projects which is available for northern partners in the Med as well as southern partners in the Mediterranean. So that provided a very good opportunity to showcase and highlight projects which have been very successful on sustainable tourism, with the intention, obviously, of hopefully having more developed and concrete project concepts which could obviously apply for funding. Allow me to share two, which in my opinion are two important points which were highlighted in the webinar, and which were highlighted by the speakers and by the participants in the webinar. The first is that collaboration and reaching out to stakeholders is never an easy task, whether they are policymakers, private sectors, NGOs. So when it comes to the actual project developers, it's never easy to reach out to stakeholders. And this is specifically where we, as the WestMed, we try to pride ourselves in this objective, because we try to take on this role by bringing stakeholders together in order to have more effective dialogue. So to me, I think that is a very important aspect which came out from the webinar. The second one is that there's already been a lot of work on sustainable tourism across the region. So there's been a number of very successful projects which have already developed quite strong methodologies, be it in terms of assessing or quantitatively assessing sustainable tourism, what sustainable tourism should be all about, how we can integrate it into policy making. So there's been quite a lot of work done in that respect. But we really need to have more of a concentrated effort now in terms of looking at all of these different methodologies and pushing that forward, ensuring that these methodologies are now really embedded for policy making, as well as making sure that we can trace how sustainable tourism is actually being observed over time, which it's obviously an important element which allows for accountability and transparency. So I think that is another important aspect which came out from the webinar. In terms of our next steps forward, we will obviously continue to work very intently on sustainable tourism. So together with the co-presidency, which Malta will hold next year, and for which we're very much looking forward to that, as well as with our partners, Libya, we will obviously continue to work on sustainable tourism. But from the WestMed initiative point of view, we've already obviously reached out to our colleagues, national hubs, who in turn will be reaching out as well to participants and stakeholders, obviously in their own respective countries, highlighting the important role that, the important funding opportunity which exists through the MFAF call. And we will obviously continue to support as much as possible the development of these project ideas by bringing stakeholders together. We'll also obviously continue to engage in dialogue and providing input where necessary in this important aspect. I think another key point which was highlighted in the webinar which was presented was the Handbook on Sustainable Tourism, which is currently being developed by CPMR and UFM. And we obviously will take we'll make sure that we're obviously engaged and contribute where possibly towards these policy initiatives. At a more practical aspect, we also hope that there will be a conference on sustainable tourism as well, which will be organized in Morocco, providing another opportunity for us to continue to work more on the issue of sustainable tourism. So with that, that's basically all the work that we have been doing on sustainable tourism. I would like to take the opportunity maybe to ask Dr. Adel Faraj as well, who was present during the webinar which we had, but maybe to give us a bit of a reflection in terms of what you have considered in terms of the outcomes of the webinar and whether these have been beneficial for Libya as a stakeholder in these discussions. If that is possible, following that, maybe we can have...
We just need a microphone, I guess, right?
Yep, sure.
If you can help us out, so just...
Hi again. So straight to the point. It was very beneficial, to be honest, and I attend that webinar in the presence of the minister himself, and he was so happy from the points comes outside. But again, we have high hopes for the next election in Libya and high hopes for 2022 to participate, as I said, better than what we did in 2021. So hopefully we'll see in 2022 with the better, strong muscles as the Libyans, and then we'll help you a lot. Thank you.
Very good. So we look forward to that.
Thank you. Stephanie, I have a question for you already from online.
Okay.
Shall I read it, or someone wants to already take the floor?
Yes, if there's
Is
anyone
there
who
a
would like
question
to
in the
take the
audience?
floor, please.
Okay, so then I'll read this one.
Sure.
Perfect.
Yes.
Here,
If you could kindly present yourself, please.
yes.
Hello, I'm Al-Khalil Sharif. I'm representing Institute for Systems and Robotics from Lisbon, Portugal. So, and I am from Morocco. So, I would like to talk about tourism in Morocco since during, from 2018 to 2020, we were working about the bathing water quality in the west coast of Tangier using some new technology as satellite images and quick monitoring tools. And the things that I was doing, that time I was preparing my PhD. So it was a subject of 5 articles where we really clearly see the impact of industrial impact on the bathing water quality, especially where there is like rivers. And the nice thing that there is a very nice activity in Morocco improving the water quality by implementing a wastewater treatment station. But even though the problem of the water quality was clearly, appearing using some satellite like Land Sentinel-3 for ocean. And my question to my dear friend, like, what are the efforts of foundation relating to use this new technology as robotic satellite images for really help decision makers taking decision? Because we really, I think that there is like a problem on taking decision. That's why we have the problem of pollution of water. Then we decide to make a station. Then the station doesn't work. So that's my question. The second question that really would like to talk about, like the blue economy. Like, did WestMED really think about creating like a new young diplomat people for science that will really make world really a small world where these young people going to talk about environment, but without a title of politics title, because that will make sometimes make a problem in order to get information as a researcher. Sometimes it takes a long time to take information from a responsible time, a lot of stuff. So that's my question, and thank you very much.
Thank you, please. Yep. Thank you very much. Thanks for your question. two aspects mainly in terms of the WestMED role and really engaging in young representatives in order, kind of shying away from policy making and in terms of contributing towards the debate. One is that we have throughout a number of initiatives, so not just on sustainable transport, but we have really sought to bring in stakeholders from all aspects, so be that private sector, civil society, universities, any research that is going on, and really bringing them together and providing a forum where there are discussions on what is being undertaken, what is the way forward, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and giving them scope to be able to discuss within a forum on how to take things forward. So I think that has been a very important aspect which is being really done across various areas which the WestMED is tackling. In terms of going forward, through the co-presidency which will be held by Malta and Libya, we will also try to focus as well much more intently on the important issue of ocean literacy. So that will really kind of bring in, more youths, bringing out the issue of literacy, which is more spearheaded across the population, bringing out the importance of the ocean, the quality of water, why we need water to be of good quality, not just from a domestic perspective, but because tourism, for example, also depends on it, the benefits that there are for good quality water, and this obviously will filter in. So we'll obviously be putting much more emphasis on the issue of ocean literacy and the involvement of youth. Also because next year will present an opportunity. It will be the official year as well for youth, and we'll obviously seek to kind of make sure that they obviously bring in more in terms of their contribution.
Thank you, dear friend. If you don't mind, I would like to answer in French. If it doesn't matter, thank you very much. Okay, there is a... Okay, no.
بالعربي
There's no Arabic. You can do the translation. Okay, great. Well, je te remercie pour la question. Donc, la question que vous avez posée, c'est notamment par rapport à les efforts de la Fondation en termes de la qualité des eaux de baignade. Je tiens juste à rappeler que la Fondation est une ONG, donc sa mission principale étant l'éducation et la sensibilisation au développement durable, tout en jouant un rôle de fédérateur des différents acteurs autour de thématiques bien précises, sous un principe de subsidiarité, donc pour ne pas se substituer aux autorités compétentes. J'ai mis en exergue deux exemples de deux programmes, programme plage propre, Clean Beaches et Pavillon Bleu, le Blue Flag. Donc, ce sont deux programmes. Le programme Blue Flag, c'est un programme qui a été délocalisé au Maroc, donc à travers la Fondation pour l'éducation à l'environnement, la FI, au niveau du Danemark, où on a délocalisé ce programme. Donc, c'est un programme d'excellence environnementale de certaines plages qui regroupe 4 critères, étant les infrastructures, les aménagements, l'éducation, la sensibilisation, la sécurité. Et le quatrième point que vous avez soulevé, la qualité des eaux de baignade. Donc, en ce qui concerne la qualité des eaux de baignade, donc, il y a une norme 0399 qui est une norme spécifique et une norme d'excellence qui classifie, bien sûr, sur la base de prélèvement et d'échantillonnage, et une moyenne qui est effectuée sur 4 ans, donne bien sûr une moyenne de la qualité environnementale de ces eaux-là. Donc le travail il est initié par l'Observatoire national de l'environnement. La Fondation, comme je dis, donc dans son travail d'acteur, c'est la fédération et la mobilisation à la création de cette concurrence entre les différentes communautés territoriales afin d'aboutir à cette excellence environnementale, sachant que, bien sûr, la majorité du travail technique elle est réalisée par l'Observatoire. Nonobstant, ce que je voudrais dire, vous avez évoqué également l'intégration des technologies d'imagerie satellitaire et autres. Dans ce sens-là, j'avoue qu'on n'a pas encore, bien sûr, arrivé à un stade assez évolué. Donc, j'ai évoqué le point de la transition digitale, d'évolution des sources de technologie d'information 2.0 à 3.0. C'est vrai qu'il y a un travail, bien sûr, à faire, notamment avec les autorités compétentes. Ce que pourrait faire la Fondation, c'est de mettre en exergue l'évolution de ces aspects-là, bien sûr, qui restent toujours des aspects émergents et qui ne sont pas encore, que le Maroc, malheureusement, pour le moment, n'a pas encore acquéris. pour fédérer l'ensemble des acteurs et voir de quelle manière, bien sûr, placer cette composante digitale au service, bien sûr, de cet aspect-là relatif à la qualité des eaux de baignade. Voilà, je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. I think our next question, we'll keep it for the end for the wrap-up. So I don't know, do you want to take other questions, or we now enter a new sector, which is